Hi everyone, I hope you're all doing well. I know it's a difficult period right now with the coronavirus, but I hope you're all safe wherever you are. Today's video is kind of hard to introduce just because there are like a lot of different terms to express what I want to talk about. So what I want to talk about is being called quiet, so being referred to as someone who's quiet. But there are a lot of terms that are used in different situations. So some people, for example, use the term introvert, shy, reserved. But before starting the video, I want to mention that those terms mean different things. They're not synonyms. Like being an introvert is very different from being shy or reserved. Like they don't mean the same thing, and I think it's important to mention that before starting the video. Like from my understanding, I'm not an expert, but from my understanding, being shy has more to do, with being anxious to talk in front of people, for example, whereas being reserved might be more that you don't really want to talk in a group of people, but it's not because you're anxious, it's more that you don't feel like talking for whatever reason. So it's important to know the differences. In this video, I'm not going to talk about the different definitions and what the different terms mean because it will be too long and maybe not very organized. I just want to talk about being called quiet in general, so I'm just going to refer to people who are called quiet or people who are referred to as quiet. Keep in mind that there are many personality traits that can be developed, but it's not what I'm going to do in this video. I just want to talk about being quiet. Hope that makes sense. But I do think it's important also for you, to know the differences between those terms, because you might think like, oh, I want to change myself. So first of all, if you want to change something about the way you are, the way you act, the way you think about it from your point of view. Don't just change something because someone told you, you should change that. Like it really needs to come from you. That's really important. But yeah, if you decide, I don't want to be, I don't know, I don't want to be quiet anymore, like broad. I don't want to be quiet anymore. Try to break that into different little parts, because maybe you might think like, oh, I just don't want to be shy in front of other people, which makes me be quiet, but I still like being quiet when I'm having a conversation with a group of friends because I like listening to them. It's not like black or white in the sense like, I just want to stop being quiet. Like, don't try to be too harsh on yourself. Like also see the positive points in who you are, and maybe you just don't want to change everything. And it's important to know the differences between the terms and try to really look at yourself, like understand what you want. And yeah, it's not always like wrong, good, or but this I'm going to talk about it later in the video, so stay tuned. So yeah, this leads me to the point that situations are different, and sometimes you might not want to be too talkative, and it's okay. And sometimes you might want to be talkative, and then you can work on that. Like, really, each situation is different. Like, for example, in certain jobs, it's beneficial to be talkative, yeah, talk more and not be reserved. Like I know that me, for example, when I used to babysit, I would have a day sometimes where I would like play with the children, and then the parents would watch to see how I was doing and stuff. So in that instance, I would try to be really, like talkative with the children, and like I couldn't really be reserved, because if I don't like show any interaction, then it wasn't really positive for the parents. So in some instances, it's important to work on that, but you don't always have to be like the most talkative, and sometimes it's honestly 100% okay to be quiet, and you really need to not be too harsh on yourself and think positively about it sometimes. Like I know, like me, when I'm 20 now, so I'm still not like, I'm so young, but like when I was like a teenager, like a young teenager, I remember that I really took it as something bad, and I was like, oh, really, I should talk more, it's not good. And it's not like, there are two categories, like extrovert, introvert, and one is bad, one is good. Like, it can kind of like mix sometimes. In some situations, you might be super open, in some situations, you might not really want to talk. You just have to see the positive and the negative in each. In addition, I think it's really important to know that you're not alone. Like sometimes when I'm really feeling like I'm reserved, when I don't really want to participate in a conversation just because I'm shy. Because me, I think I'm like a bit of everything. Like sometimes I'm shy, like I'm really like anxious about talking in the situation. Sometimes I'm reserved but not really shy, just I don't want to talk. And yet sometimes it happens to me that I'm shy and I don't feel like participating in a group conversation. And I think sometimes like, oh, you know, I should do my best, I should work on it and everything. But really, you have to realize that you're not alone in this. Trust me, there are a lot of people who sometimes don't really feel like talking, or who are shy, or who, yeah, you know, are just reserved. And you need to know that it happens to a lot of people. I don't want to use the word really normal, because like, what's normal? I don't know. But I mean, it's not like weird. I guess I could say that. Another point I want to mention is people's assumptions. People have so many assumptions when you're quiet. Like, yeah. Like, I've realized when I'm with a group of people and I don't talk, or it's just that I'm shy or I'm reserved or whatever, I'm quiet basically, that some people think I'm not interested. Like, just people come to conclusions. Like, they see me shy, it's like, oh, this girl, she's not funny. I know it can come across like this. Like, of course, if there's like a event where everybody's like laughing and talking and like super excited, and I'm just there like smiling, you know, but not talking a lot, okay, maybe like it might seem that I'm a cold person, which maybe I am, I don't know. But like, it doesn't mean at all that I'm not having fun or that I'm not interested. It's just, honestly, sometimes I enjoy have being in part of a conversation but not talking. Like, I enjoy just listening to others, seeing what's happening and stuff. And sometimes it like stresses me out to talk, so I just don't want to do it. But like, I would still be smiling and everything. It's just I don't feel like participating. But it doesn't mean like I'm not having fun. And I understand why it can come across that way. But yeah, I think it's really important for people to understand that, because then they might come to conclusions which are, well, of course, not true. And if you are someone who tend, you know, to think that people that don't talk are like boring or not having fun, think about the fact that it's not that straightforward. There might be much more happening in the person's head. So really try to not be too judgmental when it comes to that. Same way when someone is an extrovert and like talks a lot or whatever, like, just, it's important in general with whoever to not come too quickly to conclusions, because you never really know what the person is feeling. Something though that I can tell you does not help is the advice, I guess. Talk more. Like, it has happened to me several times, but like, honestly, like a lot of times, I don't even remember all the times, that like, again, I would be in a group of people, like with different people, and who were talking, blah blah blah. People who are quiet in a conversation, like, know that they are quiet. I don't know how to explain. Like, when there is a conversation, sometimes when it's like with friends, you know, like something chill and stuff, I almost feel like I'm in class, and then I'm like, okay, Nina, you have to participate, you know, like, go ahead, otherwise the teacher is gonna give you a bad grade, you know. Like, I feel that stress that like I have to talk, otherwise people are gonna judge me. When you're having a conversation and I'm not talking, I'm aware of the fact that I need to talk, and it's stressing me out. And like, it has happened so many times that people have like told me in front of everyone, like, oh, you're not talking, like, say something now. And I'm just like, like, you know, it doesn't help, because I'm already like stressing out. Well, I guess it helps in a sense, because then I'm forced to talk. Like, what I would recommend, what I like, for example, is sometimes there's like a conversation of people and I just don't know what to say. Like, you know, it happens to me where I'm just like, sometimes I would want to, sometimes I want to participate, but I just really do not have anything to say. And I'm the type of person, I'm the same in class, that when I don't feel like I have something interesting to say, I just don't say it. If I'm in a group of people, when I'm with like my friends or family, I just talk a lot, but I will come to that later. And yeah, sometimes I just don't know what to say. But something that's helpful, instead of pointing out that person, what you can do is like asking the person a question. Like, that's something that I find useful if I'm in a group of people, and like, I don't know, when the people are talking, let's say, about the weather, and one person asks me like, oh, Nina, what did you think of yesterday's weather, you know? Then you're like including the person in the like conversation, but not like pointing them out. So, you know, talking about my experience, I personally am super different in different situations. Twice the word different. It's not, again, it's not this or that. Like, you can vary depending on the situation. Like, I know, for example, like when I'm with a group of people, I don't really like to talk, especially if I don't know the people. I don't know. It's just I prefer to listen. I just don't talk. But
But
if I am with my family or friends, I talk so much. Like, honestly, you can see videos of me when I was like young. I would just talk all the time. Like, my parents would film videos and I would always be in the background, like, blah, 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 blah. So, basically, the message is, I don't know if that sentence is English, but you can't generalize yourself. Like, you can't just be like, I'm quiet, period. It doesn't, like, I don't think it works like this, to be honest. So it's also doing yourself a favor to not like be harsh with yourself once more. And a little advice against that relates to not being too harsh with yourself is to know yourself and accept yourself the way you are. I'm gonna give you an example. Me, for instance, I've been moving a lot in my life. If you want to hear more about that, you can watch my video, Third Culture Kid Growing Up Abroad. But yeah, I moved a lot in my life and I changed schools a lot, quite often. And it was always super hard for me to adapt. Like, I'm just not that person who adapts super quickly. And sometimes, you know, like every year there are new kids at the school, and sometimes I would see new kids who would arrive at the same time as me, you know, who would make friends in like a week. It always takes me a lot of time to make friends. Almost most of the time it can take me like 6 months, 1 year, I don't know, depends. But yeah, and I just know that like after a while I realize, okay, whenever I go to a new school it always takes me like several months, and at some point I just accepted, okay, you know, that's normal. I'm not gonna like kind of judge myself. Of course, if you want to make efforts, if you want to work on something, like I said, me for example, I'm really working like on being confident and not being shy. So you can of course work on yourself, but you should also accept yourself, and sometimes, you know, you're not a superhero and it's okay to accept that you take more time to make friends, for example. So yeah, that was just a little end note. But I hope you liked the video. I hope it was interesting, and don't hesitate to let me know what you think about all this. Of course, there are a lot of to say about this topic, so I wasn't able to talk about everything, but maybe there will be a part 2 if it's interesting. So yeah, I hope you liked it, and I'll see you soon. Bye!